welcome to Today at Keeneland for the final race day of this fall meet here in 2020. It's Saturday, October 24th. And also, we're just 2 weeks out from Breeders' Cup Saturday, Breeders' Cup Friday, 13 days from now. We'll talk about that certainly here in the next couple of weeks once we start to have more horses arrive here, the Breeders' Cup horses arrive here at Keeneland Racecourse. But Gabby, chilly, no turf racing today. They've taken all the races off the turf. We did get some rain last night, but one of the things that we'll be tracking today, the trainer standings here today. Brad Cox, 13 wins. Mike Maker, 12. Steve Asmussen with 11. Brad's got 4 more horses to run, 2 in 1 race. Mike Maker's only got 1 more runner here during this meet, so the best he can do is tie, and Steve Asmussen has 3 more runners, so there's a chance that Steve could tie or clear here as well. But Brad Cox in the driver's seat. Gaffleone, he already has the title in the jockey standings. And as far as the owner standings, Mike Sisk, M&M Racing, he's in the driver's seat. They have 4 winners on the meet. They've got 2 more runners left here today, and there are a few owners that have runners later on this afternoon, including Calumet and Double Down Stable and Shadwell, but they're 2 behind M&M Racing. M&M Racing, known for their success primarily in Hot Springs, Arkansas during the Oaklawn meet, where they blitzed through that meet with Robertino Diodoro. This could be a big day for Mike and Nicholas Sisk out of Texas with M&M Racing. Yeah, it's going to be a tight finish there with the training title, but you mentioned Tyler Gaffleone is well ahead in the lead, and he added to that tally with 2 victories yesterday. And another thing to pay attention to, a major milestone, Julien Leparoux, who had a winner on yesterday's card, he's 1 win away from 500 wins here at Keeneland. There's a lot to keep track of here today, but before we dive into today, let's take a look back at yesterday, and it was a day where we started in the 80s, then we had about a 30-minute rain delay, and then things cooled off to the temperatures, not near the temperatures that we're getting right now, but it was quite a drastic change in the afternoon as far as weather. I can't keep up. I really can't keep up in terms of the weather. It was warm yesterday. It's freezing today. But regardless, excellent racing from start to finish yesterday afternoon. And even though we are off the turf today, I think the trend is going to continue. You and I were kind of speaking off air earlier about the late pick 4. I thought the late pick 4 was one of the toughest sequences today, that we've seen throughout the meet. And keep in mind, too, mandatory payouts with all of these multi-race exotics with it being closing day. So make sure you get involved in the pick 6, the 2 pick 5s, the 2 pick 4s that we have for you here at Keeneland Racecourse. WKYT, they're taking the day off, so I'm going to play weatherman, which I love to do. I don't. Why? Because the weather's been bipolar lately. Well, it's hard to predict. It is hard to predict. It's like predicting these races as well. I mean, we're handicapping, right? Handicapping the weather, handicapping horses running around in circles with men on their backs. 54 is going to be the high here today at 5 p.m. and a 20% chance of rain. I think we're going to get lucky as far as the weather is concerned. We thought we would get more rain. I'm going to say we might get a light sprinkle later on this afternoon. A light sprinkle? A light sprinkle. Okay. Here's our full card selections presented by TVG, Gabby. Sorry, I'm a little chilly and I keep interrupting you. Yes, looking at the day, we agree race 5. Is that it? Sometimes I'm not so good at this, but it doesn't look like we agree often today. And I'm not surprised, Scott. I thought it was a really challenging card. And I'm going to take the lead on this for the April meet. Obviously, I came up with this idea a bit late. We're going to create a scoring system. I'm going to create a scoring system to keep track of our selections over the course of the April meet. Is that okay? Good luck with you? That. No, it's going to be a tiered system. Your top selection, you get 5 points. Your second selection, you get 3 points. 1 point for your third selection, and the horse has to win. Just saying, you might have to step up your game a little bit, Scott. Oh wow. Okay. All right, Gabby Gaudet. It's the last day. I have to. That's fair. No, I'm owed a few shots over the course of the last couple of years. Muddy is the track condition, by the way. We just got the track condition. Muddy is the main track. As we mentioned, no turf racing today with the rain that we received overnight. Social media, let's hit it. At Facebook or on Facebook, at Keeneland, at Keeneland Racing on Twitter. Also, don't forget at Keeneland Sales if you'd like to give them a follow on Twitter with the upcoming Keeneland November sale. At Keeneland on Instagram, and then TVG2, give them a follow. If you're not watching on TVG2 and you're wondering how you can access it because your cable or satellite provider doesn't offer TVG2, download the Watch TVG app. It's on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Both networks in HD, including the Racebook. It won't be long before Gabby has her own channel on there, I'm convinced. So make sure you have that downloaded on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. All right, race number 9 is our featured event, and this race changed from our opinions most certainly in the over the course of this morning because of the fact that we have this race taken off the turf course. Some scratches, as you can see, the 1, the 3, the 6, the 8, 9, and 12 all scratched. In Good Spirits is the morning line favorite, a daughter of Go Sapper, who ran on dirt in debut that was sprinting. She might be favored, let's be honest, come post time in this race. But I'm going to go to the number 7 horse, Lucky Jingle, for Graham Motion. And I know that we're going to roll back her last race. Was expecting this race to be on the turf here today. But this race here at Pimlico in the Hilltop Stakes, she was taken back because she had an outside draw. Trevor McCarthy tried to save as much ground as he possibly could, which he did. But by doing that, making that move, diving to the rail, and then being forced to come around horses, she traveled, I would guess, as far as any horse in this race. Today, she'll get a better trip, in my opinion, with this post draw. We've seen her run on the dirt in the past. She's a winner on the dirt here at Keeneland. It was a fast main track. She's 6-1 on the morning line, and you've got Florent Giroux, who's been one of the best riders this meet here at Keeneland Racecourse. Lucky Jingle, I'll take a swing with this daughter of Tonalist, speaking of dirt pedigrees, in race number 9. The number 2 horse, In Good Spirits, you have to respect. She's got good speed down on the inside, and Miguel Mena has been lighting it up in the limited opportunities, as you pointed out yesterday, Gabby, here at Keeneland Racecourse. And then the 10 horse on the outside, Curls and Bows, I think the better of the 2 MTOs that are going today, the main track only entrance, the daughter of Curlin. So in the feature, 7, 2, and 10 in the race taken off the turf, led by Lucky Jingle, the daughter of Tonalist, for Alex Campbell Jr.
I'll be honest, my opinion completely changed with it being off the turf. I think In Good Spirits is definitely the class of the race, but I'm not so sure that she's going to improve on the main track, whereas there are some fillies in here that I think are actually okay on the main track today. One of them is the number 4 Alta's Award, and that's where I ultimately land as the top selection. She's coming in off of a fresh name. We haven't seen her since the summer meeting here at Keeneland, but she went against some serious fillies on the dirt earlier this year. She Dares the Devil, eventual Kentucky Oaks winner, Swiss Skydiver, eventual Preakness winner. So the quality and the class is there. I wonder if the mile is going to be okay for her. At least she has a decent post position, but the pace is going to have to come back to her. I just think she's going to be good. I'm not sure what kind of price we're going to get on her. And talk about other fillies that have class on the dirt. The 5, His Glory, for trainer Joe Sharp. Now, you know, her previous dirt races were when Brad Cox was training her, but she went against the same type of quality. Finite, she ran in the Grade 2 Rachel Alexandra, Silver Bullet Day. So, you know, I do think that there's quality to these 2 fillies on the main track. So that's where I opt for. But the 7, Lucky Jingle, she not only has class on the turf, but she's also got some decent races on the main track as well. And she just looks like an improving filly. So, you know, Scott, I thought that this race on the turf was pretty straightforward. I really thought that the 2 In Good Spirits was going to be the controlling speed and probably the most likeliest winner. I think that completely changes with it coming off the turf now.
Yeah, adjust that handicapping accordingly in race number 9, our featured event on this 10-race card here this afternoon. Let's dive into our key races of the day on closing day here at Keeneland. I'm going to go early in the card, if my fingers will work. In race number 2, $50,000 claimer, 3 and up, at 1.16 on the muddy main track. And the number 5 horse, Crypto Cash, is the morning line favorite at 2-1 in this $50,000 claimer. I'm going to go against the favorite, morning line favorite in here, and take a look at Looking at Liberty for trainer Chris Hartman and Corey Lannery. This is a gelding that he claimed for $50,000 last time out. He's won 2 of his last 3 races. He broke his maiden during the summer meet here at Keeneland Racecourse. And he's a horse that we've seen run on and off track in the past and do quite well. He caught a sloppy track at Churchill Downs back in June and finished second on that day. The bottom line is this gelding just doesn't run a bad race, or at least hasn't to date. And I don't think that that's going to start here this afternoon as we take you back to his most recent start at Churchill Downs on the 23rd of September, where he comes around and picks up the pace here late and clears this field by 2 3/4 of a length. And this was when he was claimed off of Grant Forrester and Team Forrester. And Chris Hartman, said it before, we'll say it again, he's been so good at spotting his horses here at Keeneland. He's had a wonderful meeting, having 3 victories, close to 40% strike rate for Chris Hartman, and he's very good off the claim. And he knows how to handicap these races, my opinion of Chris Hartman. We've been told, the coach, Dwayne Lucas, we had a conversation with him about Chris Hartman. He's a very good handicapper, knowing who's going to show up in these races, and I think that he's going to get the speed to run at late, so I will go with the number 3 horse, Looking at Liberty, has a mild upset at 5-2. Mo's Mojo, you got to respect him with his speed, and he's got good off-track form as well. That's the number 1 horse, and then Truculent, the number 4 horse, tries the off-track for the first time, but off the claim for another good barn in Cipriano Contreras, who won the TCA stakes earlier this meet, so he's having a nice meet here at Keeneland. So in race number 2, 3, 1, and 4, don't forget that race does start the early pick 4.
Yeah, we learned that Chris Hartman's a very good handicapper and also very funny from Dwayne Lucas.
He is pretty funny, and he's an Arizona boy, so that helps me like him a little bit more, and I've known him for quite some time because that is where I'm from. That's where my family's from. Race number 6 is where I'll take us to next in our key race analysis. It's a maiden claimer, $150,000 maiden claiming event for 2-year-olds. 6 furlongs the distance. This race 6, starts the late pick 5. Cane Creek Road is the morning line favorite at 3-1. I'll go to Wellman, the number 2 horse for Eric Reed here today, off of a debut effort at Indiana Grand and Twirling Candies. They can excel on the off track. That's lending itself to the Candy Ride influence, because we always talk about Candy Ride, or seem to, when these racetracks come up a little bit on the wet side. And we'll take you back to his debut. This was in mid-August at Indiana Grand, where he has the inside post. He draws post position number 1. He's not sharp out of the gate, but then he comes running on late. Off the rail is one of the easiest angles to look at when you're looking at young, inexperienced horses. So the fact that he doesn't have to break from the rail here today, if he breaks a bit sharper, he'll be in a much better position. And I think that this race is going to go a long way here today. Like the pedigree, like the post, like the price more than anything. He's 6-1 on the morning line. I'll lean on him second time out. Samurai Prince for Billy Morey, the first-time starter. The second choice there has had some fast workouts over at the training center here in Lexington, and Tyler Gaffleone's presence swayed me a bit in that spot. And then you also do have to respect Cane Creek Road. Florent Giroux, Brad Cox coming together with his first-time starter. But I'll go with the experienced horse in Wellman. Off the rail is key, always has been, always will be with young horses.
All right, I'm going to move along to the 7th race. This is the first leg of the late pick 4 sequence, which I mentioned I thought was very challenging. And this race included. It's 5.5 furlongs, which originally carded for the turf, but will run on the main track at the same distance. First level allowance race. A couple of scratches in here, but not too many. The 4 American Mandate is where I ultimately land for trainer Steve Asmussen. This is a horse who primarily sprinted on the dirt so far in his career, and he's been competitive in competitive races, especially over the course of the past year at Oaklawn, earlier this year, He's good. We'll show you his last dirt race, 2 starts back at Saratoga. This was on a track listed as good. Now, this particular race was originally carded for the turf. It came off the turf. I still thought that it was a decent field. He ultimately he rated and then would ultimately try to catch the pace setter in here. He would close to finish 3rd, just beating a neck. Now, I like him, Scott. He's my top selection. I'm curious to see what kind of price we get. That right there is what concerns me. He doesn't always give it his all when he gets to the finish line. He's 1 for 18 on form. He's got 7 second-place finishes and 5 third-place finishes. So sometimes that willingness to beat other horses when it's all said and done isn't there all the time. So I did think that I wanted to highlight this race, Scott, not necessarily because of my top selection, but because of how tough I think this race is now that it is off the turf. I think you have to consider the number 9 horse, Mun Passage. He's a horse that's just continuing to get better. He's by Munnings. We've seen Munnings, especially as of late. They have been doing everything. The sire is really hot right now, including the sire of Venetian Harbor, pointed for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, even the sire of Finite, who was a runner-up to her most recently here at Keeneland. So I like the pedigree there to try the main track again. The 7 Nettleton by Cantheros for Mike Maker. I think this horse could be a late closer if the pace does, in fact, fall apart. And then two other horses, I thought. The 8 Shared Legacy. He's got sneaky dirt form for Murat Sankal. And then the 1 Williston Way. So we'll talk more about this in a moment, but I thought that this was probably one of the toughest races in that late pick 4 sequence. And unfortunately, it's the first leg.
It is. Well, at least I guess you get the benefit of seeing where the odds are at, the live odds in that first leg, getting a chance to see him back here as well in the paddock, or we can bring them to you if you're watching at home. So that, I guess, is the one benefit there. You're going to take us right into race number 8, another 2-year-old race. This one always carded for the main track. Mooncod is the 9-5 morning line favorite who just was terrible out of the gate last time out, and that cost him any chance to win as the even money favorite.
Yeah, I have a little bit better of an opinion in this race. I think you have to use Mooncod, the 4 for Todd Pletcher. You also should probably consider the number 8 Anti-Gravity for Jerry Hollendorfer, who does get the blinkers on. The horse has just been a little bit pace dependent as of late and just hasn't been able to get that pace to close into. I think the blinkers on will help sharpen him up to be involved a bit earlier. But the 1 Swingman is where I landed, and we'll go back to his last race. This was at Churchill Downs on the 24th of September, and he had a wide trip. He was also slow out of the gate. So what had happened was this horse broke slowly out of the gate. He was taken back pretty much last, and then Brian Hernandez really had no other choice but to go wide at the quarter pole around the final turn. You can see him kind of climbing too. I do think this is a horse that ultimately is still a little green, but watching him in that first race, he was green, probably needed race experience, and he certainly does not look like a one-turn horse the way that he was running. So I think the added distance to 1 mile and a 16th will help him, and the rail draw, I think, will help him too, just get involved early. So he's kind of one of my stronger opinions on the day. I just liked what I saw from his debut, and it looked like he could really improve in a second start. So the 1 Swingman for me on top, but 1, 8, 4, and I'll also use those 3 in the late pick 4.
All right, we'll talk late pick 4 in just a few moments, but first, before we talk the final late pick 4 sequence of the meet, we're going to check in with the Clockers report, and we'll take you late in the card with race number 8. Clockers report is looking at the number 7 horse. That's McDowell for Godolphin and trainer Mike Stidham. It's a more than ready colt, a homebred by Godolphin, who was debuted at Monmouth Park as the favorite, finished 3rd that afternoon, and recently worked in 59-1. Didn't love the rail draw in debut. There you go. Huge local work. Galloped out 6 furlongs in 1:12-3, and then Mandolin in race number 10, the nightcap, the meet cap, on the 5th, or worked 5 furlongs rather on the 10th of October, 59 out of the gate, training well here. Top Connections title could be on the line. So race number 8, the 7, race 10, the 7. All right, late pick 4 time, Gabby Gaudet. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Race number 7 is where it begins. What are you doing in the 7th?
Using a lot of horses, 5 horses in particular. And all
Have
of the
some
horses,
confidence.
All of it's hard. I have confidence in the last race because I singled there, or I really had no other option. I wanted to keep it a little bit on the cheaper side here. It's been a tough meet in terms of betting. $37.50 is the ticket cost, but 5 horses in the first leg of that sequence, 1, 4, 7, 8, and 9. I mentioned that was one of the races that I highlighted. I do prefer the 4 American Mandate, but he is 1 for 18 on form and doesn't always find that fuel to get him to the finish line. So I will use 4 other horses along with him. And the 8th race, the race I just mentioned, Swingman is my top pick, the 1 at 6-1 on the morning line for trainer Kenny McPeak. 1, 4, 8 for me in that 8th race. The 9th race, an off-the-turf allowance event. I'll still use the 2 In Good Spirits. I don't want that to come back and bite me because obviously I did pick In Good Spirits on top when it was on turf. She's by Ghost Zapper. She could be okay on the dirt, so I did use her cautiously, but I do prefer the 4 Alta's Award and the 5 His Glory. I'll also use the 7 in their Lucky Jingle, your top pick, and the 10 Curls and Bows, who is entered for main track only for trainer Kenny McPeak, comes out of the Grade 3 Remington Park Oaks. And then let's let it ride on the 7. First-time starter coming out of the Brad Cox barn. I'm happy to see that this horse has been working very well in the morning. It was one of the horses mentioned in the Clocker report. It's a 2-year-old son of Into Mischief, Juddmonte homebred, Brad Cox, Laurent Giroux. Let's get him home in the last.
I am going to go 4 deep in race number 7 to start this late pick 4, and I do think that you need some coverage here. I'm going to go Williston Way, horse that's got experience on and off track. The number 6 horse, that being Fast Pharaoh. I don't think you can sleep on his dirt form in Southern California. He was second at Los Alamitos in a quick race back in December at the age of 2. He's only had a couple of starts here at the age of 3, so I'm not going to hold that Kentucky Downs race against him. As far as the 8, that Shared Legacy for Marat Sancal, definitely you have to consider this Candy Ride colt with the addition of blinkers and Florent Giroux given the call there. And then Mun Passage for the Melon Patch Incorporated, a colt by Munnings for Mike Campbell. Good local workout here at Keeneland to get ready for this one. Race number 8. I'm going to single Mooncott. I wanted to go a little bit deeper, but I was in the same boat as Gabby. If I added horses, it was going to start making this a $90 ticket on upwards. So I'm going to trust that this colt is ready to break away from the gate. I think that he can outrun them. I do worry about the number 2 horse, Call Papa, who's 15 to 1 rather, on the morning line, the son of Dialed In. So, and McDowell, based on the Clocker report. But I'm going to let it ride on the Shadwell homebred son of Warfront. As far as race number 9, coverage here in Good Spirits, the 5 to 2 morning line favorite horse. Then His Glory for Joe Sharp back on the main track. I think bumps this horse up. Lucky Jingle, my top selection. And then Curls and Bows, the MTO main track only entrant in race number 9. And then in race number 10, I originally had 6. And again, I didn't want to make it a huge ticket, so I cut it down to 4. I went down to 2, 3, 7, and 11. You touched on the Mandolin for Brad Cox. He worked in company on the 17th of October with a horse named Burrow, who put together a strong debut, finishing 2nd here on Thursday. So that's encouraging. And then also on the outside, Macron, a first-time starter, a colt by Frosted, a Keeneland graduate from 2019 in September. Back on the 12th of October, he worked with a horse and was right there with a horse by the name of Silver State, Gabby. Remember Silver State and what he did just 2 days ago?
Very impressive.
Yeah, so you've got to respect Macron. That is a very tough race. I would have gone, these are the numbers I would have gone with, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, and 11. If I had the budget, but the budget's just not there. Got to save some money for the Breeders' Cup because you just need a big budget for the Breeders' Cup, bottom line.
You do.
All right, best angle of the day. I'm going to go to race number 3 to get things going. Race number 3, starter optional 10, and Reason to Soar for David Cohen and M&M Racing and Robertino Diodoro. They could secure the meet title here. M&M Racing could for ownership, top owners of the fall meeting here at Keeneland. I think that this gelding's the best. He's won 2 of his last 3. Outside draw doesn't bother me. Put him on top. He's the class to win here in this spot, and put him over an ice-cold exacta. Shout out to our man Dave Weaver over Royal Commission, the number 5 horse, who he recently beat in this race that we're going to roll back for you on the 25th of September at Churchill Downs. Royal Commission was the leader, and that's him down on the inside, and Reason to Soar does just that. He flies right past him, stops the clock in 108-4 in starter company, and wins by 3.5. He probably doesn't need to go 108-4 to win this race, but he's capable of it. He's capable of going sub 110, and he's done it at Lone Star. He's done it at Churchill, getting set for his Keeneland debut here today. Cohen and Diodoro and M&M Racing. What'd you say the other day? If you can't beat them, join them. That's what I was thinking here. They are very, very difficult to beat when they come together. David Cohen and Diodoro.
Yep, 6 winners at the meet.
Doing well.
Yeah,
so
very well.
Turn them loose again. Reason to Soar over the 5 in race number 3. What are you doing in race number 4 for your best angle, Gab?
Okay, Eucharist. I went to the main track only entrant, the 10 at 2 to 1. Tyler Gaffleone in the iron. So this race was originally carded for the turf at 1 1/16. Will run on the main track at 1 1/16. And obviously, you have to pay attention to the main track, the lone main track only entrant, and that is the 10 Eucharist. We'll take you back to this horse's last race, and it actually was opening week at Keeneland here. This was on the 4th of October. This was a superb ride by Luis Saez. We saw Luis Saez come in for a couple of days and just put on an absolute clinic. All of his horses were live, and he rode them to perfection as well, and this one was one of them. This is a horse that I think he just won this race because he's talented, Scott. When I saw him in the paddock, he's just a big, solid-looking individual. He does not look like a sprinter by any means. He looks like a distance horse, and he gets to 1 1/16 today. I don't think it should be any bit of a problem. Outside post doesn't bother me at all. I think this is a horse that's quick enough to either cross over and be the pace setter, or he could maybe find a pressing trip in here. But really, I like him more so because of the fact that I got to see him up close last time out. And as a physical, he really does look like he'll be fine stretching out in distance. He also has the pedigree to suggest that as well. So Eucharist is kind of one of my better bets of the day. I don't know what price they're going to get. It's not probably going to be great. But I will use him with two other horses, the 1 and the 5 and an Exacta. I thought the 5 Hendrick is interesting for Brad Cox, who recently won. I think this race is a little bit tougher, though. And then the one next, a lot of question marks for the son of Not This Time. Dirt, distance, rail draw. But his last race, I think the Wesley Ward barn is kind of high on this horse. So why not try him? See if he's okay on the dirt, especially with his pedigree. So I'll definitely use him, box him in an Exacta.
Tom Leach is going to take us to race number 8 for his pick of the day. He's going to go to the number 6 horse, AC Expressway. 10-1, well bet in debut. Pedigree suggests he will love 2 turns. So that is Tom Leach's play of the day, the number 6 horse for the Norm Cassie operation. So showing some love to the Cassies is Tom Leach.
Tom.
Gabby, as always, like I said yesterday, I have the pleasure of working with you. I have the pleasure of working with one of the best teams, if not the best team in racing, in bringing you coverage of racing, led by G.D. Hieronymus, Philip Richardson, Lauren Warren, everybody behind the scenes that puts in way more hours than we do to make this show possible. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It's been a fun ride. We look forward to the Breeders' Cup. We look forward to the spring and hopefully inviting you all back out here to Keeneland Racecourse so we can celebrate together. But Gabby, we did the fist bump last time out. Let's go high five. Can you pull off the high five? Nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. For Gabby Gaudet,
Mic drop.
I'm Scott Hazelton. Closing day, 10-race card, 1:05 Eastern Time. Thank you so much for joining us here, as always, on Today at Keeneland.
The following is a presentation of the Keeneland Association. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Keeneland Racecourse. At this time,